Hello, everybody. I'm Jerry,
And I am Alex.
and today we're going to do something a little bit different. Today we're going to talk about a story in which we showcase just some of the zany nonsense we get up to when we play our tabletop RPGs.
Yeah, so this campaign in particular was one that I was running where I decided to give these chuckles a bit of a campaign where they could just kind of kill people a bit more.
Yeah, I kind of came up with the main, theme of it being an evil campaign where we all are required to play evil characters, and Alex just took it from there.
Yeah. So, in this particular setting, in this world, they're actually the leaders. Well, particularly Jerry's character is the leader of a small country, and in kind of looking after the country, there's kind of like a big war going on, which I never really got into.
Yeah, the campaign got cut short.
Yeah, and the at this point they had kind of go to investigate some cultists that because there was like a zombie problem, and when they were kind of investigating this cave system where they tracked the cultists to, they ended up finding this bucket, and they were hearing a voice in the bucket, and they ended up opening the bucket and finding out that there was this kind of a demi-lich thing, this floating skull, and named Sven, and
He was very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sven was kind of a kooky character, and she was very appreciative of not being jammed back in the bucket.
Which I used my character, Octavian Caesar, or just Caesar, use it as a threat quite frequently towards Sven.
Yeah. So after they cleared the cultists out, they kind of were talking to Sven, and were going to check Sven's lab, because Sven actually used to have a lab in that cave, and they were kind of playing with the bucket, and one of them, I believe it was actually was it Brittlesworth or was it Arlen that did this?
It was Brillsworth.
Okay.
Anything magic he typically messed with.
Yeah. So this liquid came out, and they kind of like bottled it up, and they tested it out, and they gave it to Arlen, who is Jane's character. There was 4 of us, so me DMing. There was Caesar, which is Jerry's character. There was Arlen,
played by our friend James.
Yeah, played by our friend James, who was a Goliath, this like shield bearing, like shield fighter class. It's actually really cool.
Yeah, it's on the homebrew if you want to on the homebrew website if you want to check it out.
Yeah, don't remember what the name of the class was, because this was like a year or so ago.
Yeah, we played it. Damn, I don't remember.
But he was essentially a fighter that fought with a really big shield.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mickey was the Brittlesworth, who was Doctor Brittlesworth.
Mm-hmm.
This puntastic little kobold skeleton necromancer, which is having a blast. Yeah, so Brittlesworth had a habit of kind of just playing with anything and everything that he could get while he was being a little pun machine.
Hilarious, by the way. I think I laughed every time.
Yeah, he was actually doing really good with that. And him and Arlen decided to give Arlen the potion, the stuff that they got out of the bucket. Mind you, this is a bucket that they found in a pit of dead bodies.
Mm-hmm.
and
With a
like they,
with a demi-lich sealed inside of it.
yeah, with a demi-lich sealed inside of it and a spigot on the side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So they had Arlen drink the liquid. And Arlen just goes like nuts. Like he just like he gets like energy, just pure, just fucking, and then just starts running in place and just can't like contain himself and just
Right.
yeah. And this lasts for like, I think it was like a half hour, and then he's just like exhausted.
Mm-hmm.
Just collapses, and they have to drag his ass back to the castle.
Mm-hmm.
And some things happen. I think this was like what, 2 days later.
Yeah, there was an encounter with the warrior lady at the bar. And then it was the day after that, but before the world god was coming to destroy our tiny little hovel.
Yeah, so to quickly explain that, there was like these worldly gods, which are like these really powerful entities that just kind of roam about. And they're kind of, I guess a way to look at them is they're just, at this point in the world, they're kind of just natural disasters whenever they pass through an area. And one of them was on the way.
Yeah, we were trying our best to come up with a plan to evacuate everyone the day before they were going. Which one was this one again? That was coming.
Yeah, it was
It's the red one, right?
Yeah, it was this one that like produced a red fog that was like mutating everything that was in the fog for too long.
Into nightmare fuel.
Yeah, you guys had fun with some of those things.
I got a little sick to my stomach with one of the monsters. Just gonna be honest with you there.
Oh, glad, because that was my intention. But
Revenge for my Call of Cthulhu campaign.
which we will talk about at some point. But before like that stuff started happening, Arlen just kind of decided to do his own thing, and he actually talked with Rachel. Now, to quickly explain this part too as well. They had a whole host of characters that did things for them.
Yeah.
One of them was this necromancer named Abe. Abe was, I guess, kind of just the chief researcher and like magic dude for the place, and
I relied on him heavily.
yeah. And one of his actual creations was this mechanical girl named Rachel, who actually served as a mage and helped out as well, and was kind of like an assistant. I think she actually was Brittlesmith's assistant.
Yes.
As well.
Yes.
All the characters got a direct assistant to help them out. And
Mine was a cute succubus.
yeah, you got Demi.
Actually, I had two.
Yeah, you had Demi, and then I gave.
And Serenade.
Yeah, I gave Serenade to whoever. Oh yeah, no, it was. Yeah, it was a whole. Wow. Yeah.
I have it in my notes. It also says by her, cute. Also cake.
And then, yeah, because Serenade was Demi's sister. Was the shut-in.
And
yeah, and
she built all my parts for me.
Yeah, and then Arlen had a note.
Yes.
Yeah. But that aside, Rachel was a bit of a troublemaker character, and
not intentional though.
Yeah, she was a kid, like, and she acted like one. She was like, but being as she was kind of in a way, Abe's kid, she was also kind of a researcher and liked to play with stuff. And Arlen happened to approach her and be like, because he was kind of thinking, well, you know, she goes into the lab all the time. Maybe she knows how to mess with the stuff. And I want more of the crack juice, because that's what we were calling it at that point.
Yeah, it was basically crack juice.
Yeah. So she goes into Abe's lab. He's not there, so she just starts playing with stuff, and she gets some of the liquid. And one of the things with this bucket that they had learned was, like, depending on what you put into the bucket, it would actually drain, like, magic essence, which had different effects. Which this specific one was unique to, I think it was kind of dependent on the type of magic used. Like,
Yes.
I can't remember all the variables, but there was, like, a lot of stuff. But this specific purple liquid that they were getting was something specific from, like, liches and necromantic energy.
Yep.
It
Because we put Brittlesworth's head in there.
Yeah.
And we put Sven's head on Brittlesworth's body to see if it would work.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if it did.
It did. Yeah, it was punishment. It was punishment because Brittlesworth was being a pain in the ass when we were talking to Beatrice, and you suplexed him, his body into a pile of bones.
That's right.
Since he couldn't die, he just reformed his body, but you took his head off, put Sven's on there, and stuck his in the bucket for a while.
Yeah,
and Rachel was carrying around the bucket when Arlen found her, and was just shaking it as much as she could.
It's still funny.
And, so that's one of the reasons why Arlen approached her, because she actually had the bucket, yeah. And so they go into the lab, and they get the purple liquid out, and the purple liquid, it was one of those things was like, it makes you more energetic, more powerful, but when its duration is over, you have absolutely no energy, and you get all these penalties, and there was actually a small chance you could just outright die from it. But Arlen decides to ask Rachel if she knows a way that she could concentrate it. So she starts rooting through Abe's stuff, pulling out some very, very expensive materials, from dragon scales to, like, all this other stuff, and, like, all of these high cost potions, and just starts mixing stuff together with this purple liquid. Just playing with it. And then she hands Arlen this big purple bottle. And he immediately just pops the cap off and downs the entire thing.
No hesitation, just chugs the right down.
Yeah, just zero hesitation, just does it immediately. And, big Goliath man, all this armor, this shield, all of a sudden he can no longer contain himself. He just starts running. And he has no control over himself, so I'm just having him roll die to see what direction he goes into. First direction is he just starts running out of the room into the hallway. He makes his own door.
Yes. He crashes through the walls.
Yeah.
He is the Kool-Aid man of Goliaths.
Now, I had, when Rachel was making the potion, I had her, like, rolling to see what materials she would find and what materials she was using. She was rolling, like, perfect 20s.
Hence the dragon scale and whatnot.
Yeah, and she, like, rolled a perfect 20 to make the potion as well. So this thing was as concentrated as I could make it, and was as strong as I could make it on the table. And I'll be kind of honest, I hadn't really expected them to get this at this point, or to, like, just down it like that.
With reckless abandon.
Yeah. So this potion, like, the moment James' character drank it, Arlen drank it, he had to make, like, 3 checks? And he passed every single one with, like, a perfect roll. And, like, I was kind of baffled, but I was just like, you know what? Screw it. These perfect rolls, this is happening. This potion was so strong, it gave him, like, quadrupled his stats, like his physical stats. Or something. So he was literally just an unstoppable tank, just bowling through walls at, like, high speed. But he had so much energy, he couldn't control himself. So he's like barreling down the hallway, leaving massive footprints just in the floor as he's just sprinting down the hallway. As Rachel's just like flying after him, taking notes on her little notebook.
Mm. All the meanwhile, Caesar is hoping his precious Sakura trees are not being run over.
Yeah, Caesar's just panicking because it's like certain parts of this castle are either hard to get or incredibly expensive.
Mm.
So he's just praying the entire time because his character's not actually there. So Jerry's just praying the entire time that Arlen doesn't happen to run across any of this particularly expensive stuff.
The trees weren't natural to the area. They were from the neighboring kingdom, the Japanese-themed kingdom. So.
Yeah, they were from a really long distance away. Like, this country that these guys had were on, like, the far west coast, a small little country. There was an entire country that had, like, this was actually one of the larger continents. They had an entire country there, and then there was another country that was in, like, a desert. There was, like, a desert, kingdom, like a merchant kingdom, and then there was another kingdom further to the northeast that was the Japanese-themed one. So this was hella far away to try and get those trees. So they were hella expensive. And so if they got destroyed, like Caesar as his character loved those trees because his character is from Kien. So it's like if Arlen, who was Caesar's blood brother, had like destroyed those trees, he probably still would have killed him. Like, those trees meant that much to him.
They're the last remaining things of his homeland he had.
Yeah. So, luckily for Caesar, like, the rolls are just in his favor of not destroying the particularly expensive. And Arlen just barrels down the hallway and barrels straight into the mess hall. He's like, it's like he made like an offhand comment of like, he was making a joke about being like it being crackers, and he was just like, all of a sudden, I'm hungry, so I just have his ass barrel down the hallway on a whim, straight to the cafeteria, to the mess hall. He just barrels in there, and the first thing he does, I just have him roll a d20, and I had like a list of stuff to just do, and he just starts trying to exercise. So the thing he does is he picks up a table with just like all these people and all this food on it, and he just starts like bench lifting. He just starts, and this is after like he barrels into the room and just knocks one table to the side. He just picks another one up and starts bench lifting it, and then he's just like, he just barrels down the hall. He just leaves. He makes one hole in, and then he just leaves through another wall. And he just goes, and he's just gone. With Rachel just following. And at this point, Caesar kind of finds out what's going on. And I think you had started trying to track down Arlen and see what the hell was going on. Like, I don't think you actually knew who was involved yet. You just knew that something was happening because one of these servants reported to you.
Not just that, but like, I forget what Caesar was doing at the time, if he was working on his painting or whatever, but you just hear crashing and destruction. Yeah. I'm like, somebody's breaching my castle.
Yeah.
Oh, it is my own blood brother who's breaching my castle.
Yeah, and you have no idea what's going on. All you do is, like, you see, like, you hear all this crashing, and at this point, Arlen is actually in their training area, and he's not only just chucking, like, he's using a like weight for a little bit, and he just chucks it through a wall. I think at one point he just, for whatever reason, he just slams his face into the floor and just leaves an impression of his own face into the floor and like the wall and stuff, and he's just punching things and just trying to like exercise and just use energy, and he can't focus, so he's like using it for a little bit and then just like chucking it to the side, going to the next piece of equipment, and then he leaves, barrels through the wall, and then I think you had arrived in enough time to like snatch Rachel by the collar before she could fly after him.
Mm-hmm.
and you're like questioning her, who's being kind of dodgy about it.
She's being very coy because she knows she's in trouble.
Yeah, she's being a little turd, and you. At this point, I think you also realized that you couldn't do anything about it.
Mm-hmm. Well, it wasn't actually this point, it's the next point, when this man launches his shield
Yeah, okay, so
on our 50-meter high
yeah,
walls.
this country is small, so they have one of the things that he spent money on was there's a wall around this country, and it's like a 50-meter. Well, actually, no, it's just the city. Yeah, it's just the main city.
Yeah.
And there's a 50-meter high wall around this city.
That's about 150 feet in U.S. units.
Yeah. And the Arlen dashes across the field, like it dashes across the courtyard. And, this is, again, another one of those times where Caesar's just like crossing his fingers. Please don't. Like, I could just hear Jerry in the background, just like...
Not my trace, not my trace, not my trace, yeah. Not my trace, not my trace.
Yeah, and it's just like... Arlen just books it to the wall, and he's just like, I want to go to the top. Like, James is just like, I want to go to the top of the wall. I have him roll. He makes a perfect roll. He doesn't just, like, run to the top of the wall. He has the strength at this point because of the potion, because he just downed the entire thing, to literally leap from the bottom to the top of the wall. And he lands at the top of the wall, and there are these like 3 guards there that are just chilling, and they're kind of honestly being a little lazy because they're just like, it's not a threat right now.
Exactly. Yeah.
They're just chilling and having a conversation while they're doing their job. And then here comes, like, second in command, big burly dude, just like foaming at the mouth, just landing next to them out of nowhere. And I did the math on the time of the potion and stuff, and I'm just like, oh, you pass out. So he lands, and then he's just unconscious at the top of the wall. And because of the weight of his armor and the weight of, like, him being a big burly Goliath, it took like 8 people to get him off of the top of that wall and drag him back. And luckily James's character avoided death, but he didn't make a greatest roll, so he was out for like 3 days.
Yeah.
His character was unconscious, unable to do anything for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
And his shield,
it was still up there.
One of the things about his class that we didn't realize until he said it, his shield could not be moved unless it was by him because it weighed so much. And one of the things on the class is, like, you can plant the shield, and if you, like, leave the shield somewhere, unless you make a new one, only you can move it. It's a class feature. His shield was still on that top of that wall for 3 days, with guards trying to move it off of it, straining themselves.
3 days wasted.
3 days wasted. 3 days trying to prepare for a worldly god to show up wasted because this guy wanted to drink concentrated crack juice. And then, when his character finally does wake up, you punish them.
Mm-hmm. I made both Rachel and Arlen patch up the mess hall, and I took Rachel's notebook away from her.
Yeah, Rachel, one of the things about her is she really wanted to be a researcher, so she was obsessed with her notebook. It was one of the most valuable things to her. I mean, really, she did just want to be like Abe. And, Abe and, research. and be kind of like the scientist that he was. And so, like, that was a big punishment, the two of them doing that. So they're having to fix a wall. They're having to fix walls and all of this stuff and repair all this damage. While recently there were these cultists that were trying to raise zombies and mess with the country. Were running experiments with zombies. Like 2 days prior. There's these like horrible mutated monstrosities coming in from the ocean, where the direction that the worldly god is coming from towards the town in a very short amount of time.
Yep.
And this guy's the entire time that he is repairing that wall, he's like, I want more crackers, I want more crackers, I want more crackers.
This man starts coming up with a plan on how to obtain dragon scales so he can make more of the potion, so he can fight more dragons to have more dragon scales.
Yeah, he's like obsessed with these potions. He was even trying to figure out if he could use the scales from our half-dragon characters.
I don't remember the ruling on that.
I ruled no for the sake of the characters.
That was great. I love that campaign. It's too bad it ended short.
Yeah. And so this is the story of like a bucket that could give potions that turned one of them into a crack fiend.
Yep. This has been the first of many tales, so if you enjoyed it, make sure to, like, comment, subscribe, and stick around, and next time we'll tell you something from our Call of Cthulhu nonsense, where I made everyone sick to their stomach.
Many times.
Bye-bye.
Bye!